everyone. Thank you for joining another episode of the Investor Spotlight Podcast. Today we have special guest, Justin Jarboe from Central Massachusetts. How are you doing today, Justin?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Justin has a great deal of information to share with us today. He's been investing for only 4 years and already has 15 doors, specializes in finding properties at auction and off market. So Justin, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into real estate to begin with.
You want the short version or the long version?
Let's go with the medium version.
Medium version. All right, cool. So yeah, we currently have 15 doors. We are just acquiring our 21st, but so we flipped some and held most of them. But so basically how I got into real estate, I was in college just trying to figure things out right before this previous recession hit, and just getting all my liberal arts done, following my brother's footsteps. I was going to go into engineering, and he was having a hard time finding jobs post 9/11. And so I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I was just kind of like going with the flow with college. And then, at one point I was just kind of bored, I was just going through some classes and it didn't really feel right. I was like, why am I forcing this? And a friend approached me and was like, hey man, you should get into sales. And I was like, nah, man, I'm not really into that. And he's like,
the big red X comes up. No one wants to be in sales.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to sell stuff, man. Especially cars. Like, he was in car sales. And so I was like, dude, that's kind of not like nothing against car sales people. But I my perception of it at the time was kind of scummy. I was just like,
they've got a stigma. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but he was like, it's a high-end dealership. Like, I already set up the interview. Just come check it out. So I did him the favor. I went to the interview, checked it out, and I was like, you know what? This is totally different the environment than I thought it was. This is like high-end dealership dealing with high net worth individuals. So I gave it a shot. I took a semester off college, and it worked really well. I made some good money, and so then I just kind of dropped out of college and just kept going with that because I was doing really well. From then, a lot of real estate agents came into the dealerships, and I was helping them. And they were just talking about a lot of like, all right, yeah, we're gonna pay cash for this car, and it's 60 grand, and it's from this one house. And I'm like, what? Like,
it's like how can I do that?
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, how is that possible? So then I started talking to them, networking with them a little bit, and then one of them approached me and really wanted to go through an interview process with me and bring me on board. So went through like multiple layers of that, and then ended up joining his team right out of the gate. And from then, that's kind of when things started to decline for us. So obviously it was a new career. I was used to a salary plus bonus. My wife was making good money at the time too, but the recession hit us pretty hard, and we didn't really recession proof our life back then. No one taught us how to manage finances, how to budget, how to reconcile accounts.
They don't teach you any of that important stuff in college, do they?
No, or high school for that matter, which is a real flaw in my opinion. But yeah, we started feeling that tension, right? That debt was just kind of like getting more constricting and more constricting. We started getting comfortable with more levels of debt, and we'd work extra hard and pay some down, and then reward ourselves. You got to do that positive reinforcement. So we'd go on vacation, we would put it on the credit card, and we'd end up be at net zero again, like where we were before we worked hard.
But you needed it mentally to be able to function.
No, for sure. But it was one of those things that over time we realized that it was the immediate gratification of hard work is what we were chasing instead of a delayed gratification of building wealth. We didn't understand that until years later, but that downturn really crippled us. We had a condo that we had that we bought together, and we really just couldn't afford it anymore. And so we looked at doing a short sale, deed in lieu, foreclosure, and we tried renting it out. Couldn't find any good tenants. And I just got into real estate this time, so I'm like helping other people and coaching them about some of these scenarios, and I'm dealing with it myself. And so literally we just the only option that was left was let it go to foreclosure. So we let it foreclose, and then the bank turned around and sued us for the deficiency balance of $78,000, and they won in court. So here we are,
no house, and you still have to pay for it.
Yeah, 78 grand. So all in all, we're about 150K in the hole, nothing to show for it. And that was kind of the rock bottom where it's just like, what do we do now? Like, what's the point? Um, at the time, 150,000 in debt was so substantial that, I was like, we'll never come out of this. Like, this is it for us. Like, we're just we're crippled. And then I got affiliated with a lot of books. I started reading a lot more. I started following Dave Ramsey a lot, and that started our journey of digging out. And so we applied a lot of those principles of, paying off our debt, smallest to largest, and saving up money, having an emergency fund, cutting up our credit cards, and really just following that stuff to a T. Got to the point where, we started taking off again. We started doing well, and then it kind of just turned around. I don't know if you want me to dive into my first investment, how we got there. Or...
Yeah, tell us about the first investment, because you mentioned the condo and that went under, but then you didn't give up, right? You continued to look for more real estate opportunities, right?
Yeah. So, after we got crippled from that downturn, it was pretty emotional, and I mean, we struggled for a little bit as far as like our minds looking at real estate. I was helping a lot of people, and I made a lot of recommendations on this is a good deal. We'd worked with a lot of investors at the time, and then at one point I was just like, this is pretty hypocritical. Like, I'm giving a lot of real estate advice on investing, but I'm not investing myself. Like, why would anyone listen to me?
Mm-hmm.
And then that's kind of when it clicked. So then I reached out to one of our clients, and I was like, hey, if I found a really good deal, would you ever want to partner? And he was like, yeah, send me the details. And I was like, oh crap.
Now I have to do it.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, I put it out in the universe and it's actually happening. This is not cool. So I did find a property that I liked at the time. It wasn't a condo building up where we live now. We used to live in Connecticut, and we moved up to Mass, Central Mass. And so I ran all the numbers on it. I was like, this is a good deal. And then I ran it by him, and he's like, yeah, go buy it. And I was like, oh, okay. So then that was the first transition in. It was a real estate auction in Massachusetts, in central Massachusetts especially. All the auctions are held at the actual properties. So it's not like courthouse steps or anything like that. You're live in person, like bidding, just throwing your hand up.
That's neat, because most of the time you have to go look at it beforehand and then go to the courthouse, and then, they go with everyone else and try to get your deal in.
Yep. Yeah.
That's
so
neat.
they're all sight unseen. You're not allowed access into the buildings or anything. So we bid on that one, got a good deal. And then that's kind of how everything started. I was like, wow, that was actually pretty easy. That wasn't as scary as I thought it was. And then it kind of clicked, like, it's okay to take risk as long as it's calculated risk and you've researched and done the proper due diligence, then it's going to be a good deal. Even if it's not a good deal on this one, the action of continuing to do that will result in positive.
So you mentioned that you went to auction. How did you find the auctions? For those out there who are listening and they're like, hey, that might be a good way for me to buy a property at a lower cost. How do you find auctions?
So there's a lot of proprietary data out there that people sell. Honestly, all of the stuff's public record. So whenever there's a foreclosure, the banks have to post it in like the public newspaper. So if you grab an old school newspaper, go online, there's some forms where you can register and pay like, $100, $200 a year and get them direct into your inbox, things like that. If anyone that's listening wants to invest in like central Massachusetts and our network, I'd be more than happy to chat with them offline and then direct them to the right sources and whatnot. But yeah, it's all public.
Great. So that was your first one. And then what happened from there? How did you progress? What did that look like?
Yeah, it got really exciting. So from then I went to another auction and bought another one. And then, then it was just like exciting. We just kept going. We kind of had like a special niche on the condo market at that time. So I think, some of the ones that stick out the best for us was I bought one. It was sight unseen. It was in this condo complex. the finances weren't doing super well, so it was kind of like a little volatile. But I knew all the financials. I've done a lot of business in the building, so I knew it pretty intimately, and I knew that it wouldn't hurt us in the short term, but long term it might. So we bought a 2-bed, 2-bath condo there, and most of them were studios, like 750 square feet. No bedrooms and things like that. So the studios would trade for like 120, 125 grand, something like that. And I bought this one for 100. So seems high
two
risk.
bedrooms.
Right, but it seems high risk because none of the sales are exceeding that, and there was only like 2 to 3 units that were 2 bedrooms in the building.
So were you thinking, oh my gosh, what's wrong with it? Because I can't get inside to see it. Was that a concern?
Yeah. So we obviously went through the purchase and sale agreement, did all that stuff right there. I did end up getting access to the unit prior to closing, and then we lined up a buyer immediately for it, went into escrow before I even owned it. Not sure of the legalities of that, so. But,
it is what it is.
Yeah,
it happened. It's done.
Over and done.
Can't change it now.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we found a buyer that absolutely loved it. We went to escrow, and so we held title for I think it was 4 or 5 days on that one, and we made 65 grand.
Nice.
Like net. So that was good.
And now you can be like the guy that's going to go buy the $60,000 car.
Yeah.
You made what you heard, you did.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah.
But that's neat though, because at the beginning of the story, it was a guy coming in with 60 grand to buy a car, and here you go later on, and you made your 60 grand. So you did it.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up. I never looked at it that way. I never even considered spending that money on a depreciating asset. So that's cool. Yeah, thanks for bringing that to light.
So it sounds like you're doing like some flips and then some rentals, right? You do a mix?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we did, the way I look at it, and this literally just came up. So we teach investment classes in Central Massachusetts on like first-time investors and like starter investors on how to build wealth.
Because I think a lot of people are like, seems like a good deal, but do I rent it? Do I flip it? What's going to be the better outcome, and how do I figure that out?
Yeah. So I was just asked this question by our investment team of like, what are you focusing on, flips or holds right now? And I said both. Predominantly, I think you need to pick one that you're gonna put more of your time on. So I'll do either one. It doesn't matter, whichever one's gonna make me the most money. But my mindset is around holding. So what I mean by that is the amount of deals that I have in front of me right now are in abundance that I can't analyze every single one of them. So predominantly, I would say 70% of my time is spent looking at the holds and 30% on the flips, on just analyzing the deals. But it doesn't matter. Like if the flip's going to make me more money, I'll flip. If the hold's going to be better for long term, then I'm going to do that. I prefer holding because it builds more wealth. In 30 years, or if you get a 15-year note now with the rates being so low, you'll own this asset, and then the cash flow is just going to increase substantially when that mortgage is paid off. And then you have this large sum of money that you could either refinance, or you could sell the asset in 30 years or 15 years and do something else.
And a lot of people are using that strategy for their retirement because, we're not really guaranteed Social Security, right? We're not really knowing what the future is going to look like. Is that something that you consider as well whenever you look at the rental properties?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So I just talked to my financial advisor the other day, and that came up. He said, he's like, you might want to put some money aside for Jackson's, our son's 4-year-old, for his college. You might want to start this 529 plan or all this other stuff. And I was like, that's Seward Street. Like and he's like, what do you mean? I said, that building that's his college. Like, I'll pay cash. It doesn't matter what college he wants to go to. And so he still didn't get it 100%, but that's okay.
He's in his own realm.
You're right. No,
everybody knows their own thing. So
yep, for sure. So yeah, no, it's great. So it's all about the cash flow to get you through right now, and then paying down the mortgage, and then appreciation as well. You could force some appreciation. So there's 3 different areas there that all build the wealth. That's what I like about the holding.
And this is what you continue to teach others. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep. Like I said, we have the classes that's going really well. We're teaching people how to get started, and then mentoring them and getting them going.
So tell me a little bit more about the classes. If somebody wants to attend a class or reach out to you to get coaching, how do they do that? And again, what all topics do you go over during your classes?
So the first one, this is the first wave that we've done. So I did a practice called appreciative inquiry, which is more getting the consensus of the room and what they want to learn. So once we get like a group of people together, I would say, a minimum of 20 people or so. It's up to about 50 right now in person. We get them in a room, and then we basically I facilitate and just be like, what do you want to learn? Like, what's important to you about that? And there's nothing that's off limits. So I want them to think like really, really big. So some of the topics that came up were a little silly, but I was like, good, let's put that on the board. So we literally just take a Post-it note and just write down, and they have like a chance for like 5 seconds to be like, I want to learn this, or like, how does this work? And they stick it on the board. And we do that till like no one can come up with any more ideas.
Wow.
And then we look at it together, and we're like, okay, let's start moving these into categories.
Mm-hmm.
And then from the categories, we're like, we build the curriculum around that. So it's geared 100% towards what they want to get out of it.
That's amazing, because usually it's like, okay, I want to learn about this. I have to go to this class. Now I want to learn about this. I got to go to this class. And then you're sitting there with 5 classes, and then you still have questions about some things that they didn't go over. So
Right.
that's great that you do that and you cater to people in that way.
Yeah, so we just want to be a resource and just help. It was funny that they naturally gravitated towards like some basic topics of, how to determine whether it's a good deal or not. So we spend a whole class on that. How to acquire a property, the different types of financing, and then it was, how to manage the properties properly, and who's involved in that, and what typical fees should I be paying for those services, and then how do I get set up with the right accountants and the right attorneys. What do evictions look like? How do I avoid evictions? How do I deal with tenants, and like all these different things.
List goes on.
Right. So we created the curriculum right from them just telling us what the interests were, and it's been going really, really well.
That's amazing. And how does someone get in touch with you if they are interested in these classes?
Oh yeah, sorry. They could go right on our website. So it's I don't know if you could post a link or how that works, but it's thejarbogroup.com.
And how do they spell that?
So THE for the, and then my last name Jarboe, which is JAR, B as in boy, OE, and then group GROUP.com. And then they can just go on to contact and reach out to us. It'll come directly to my email.
Awesome.
So either myself or our admin team will respond and then set up a call.
And right now you're doing all the classes in person, right?
We are, but yeah, this whole coronavirus thing has definitely made us think differently. Especially just, we're just got mandated from our city not to do any open houses or anything like that, and limit showings. And so it really puts us in a unique perspective of, we need to change the way that we've done business in the past.
Right, because now we can't have groups of people, so you're going to have to do something online, like a Zoom meeting or something, and pull up the whiteboard online and do it that way.
Sure.
Which might be great, because then you can reach more people, and more people can learn from you.
Yep, absolutely. So we are in talks. My investment team and I started talking about that, what that would look like. So we've actually put that out to our group right now, and just offered that as the temporary relief, is doing it through Zoom. And then ultimately, if it came down to it, we do have the capability of doing live feeds from the office with the large whiteboard. So I could do a live feed through there as well.
Yeah, this virus is making us all think differently and learn differently and do new strategies. But I really think it's good for us, because now we're using our brains and figuring out different strategies, and it seems like we can actually reach more people, using the technology route. So got to look at the positive. Whatever positives are there, got to find those.
Absolutely. It scares me a little bit in that there's a lot of coaching programs around real estate that's like, get rich quick, or, flipping made easy and you're paying money into these programs. Like we're not
Yeah,
charging
there's nothing easy about it.
Yeah, we're not charging anything for these programs right now that we're doing. It's
Really?
more, it's
These
just
are all
educational.
complimentary, just you
Yep.
giving back to the community.
Yep.
Wow.
And so I think some of the issues that I've seen in the past with some of our clients that are paying into these programs, they're it's kind of like surface level. They're not diving deep into any particular areas in which we are. And one of the things that I fear for in this market with coronavirus is, they're not setting up their reserve accounts enough on some of these properties. They're buying high right now and they're barely cash flowing. So they're not even really that great at deals.
Mm-hmm.
And if they, hopefully there's a moratorium on mortgage payments and tenant payments, but the reality is the housing court is like closing. So there's no evictions allowed right now in our city. So if a tenant was literally like, you know what, I'm just not going to pay anymore, we can't do anything for months.
Yeah.
So we're looking at probably fall to get them out, to be honest. And so if you can't carry your property for that many months on multiple number of properties that you own, then you're going to bankrupt yourself because of a stupid virus. And you didn't delay that gratification of leaving some money in your accounts for reserves.
Yeah. Because no one thinks something like this is going to happen. Everyone thinks I'm always going to have a tenant in there. Well, right. You do have a tenant in there, but now they don't have to pay for it.
Right. Yep. So we teach everybody like it's a hybrid model of Ramsey. Keep 3 months of reserves in every single, like building account. So if you have a 4-unit or a 6-unit or whatever the costs are between taxes, mortgage payments, insurance, maintenance fees, common area electric, water, sewer, like all those expenses, leave 3 months reserves in that account before you take any draw out as capital contribution back to the owner.
Smart advice.
So that, and I did that, and it looked like I had a decent amount of cash sitting inside liquid, but in reality, we never saw anything like this coming. But I always joked, I said, if crap hits the fan and like literally everything becomes an issue on every property of mine, I could still float and I'm not going to bankrupt myself. And I never thought that would be ever a reality. And here we are where,
now
this
we're having
virus
to deal with
is
that reality.
Right. It's insane. So I'm glad
it's going to make us all smarter though, and the people who aren't banking like you, and keeping that 2-3 months reserve after this, they sure will. So it'll definitely help us, moving forward with the future. Yeah. So Justin, if there was one bit of inspiration or one, really huge tip that you would give to maybe a new investor that's out there trying to figure out, how do I get into this and what do I do? What would your tip or words of what would it be?
It's not your typical response, but in a scenario like this, I would say gently, no one cares about your interest but you. So don't listen to me. Don't listen to your financial advisor. Don't listen to your doctor. No one has a vested interest in your success and your health and your business than you. Ultimately, you're going to be the one making the decision, and look at your board of advisors for advice, but don't lean on them too hard where if something goes wrong, you blame them. So always do your due diligence, look out for yourself. Anything that I tell you that I think is a good deal, make sure you verify yourself. That's kind of my advice that I would give.
Perfect. I love it. Yeah. And that's great advice, because whenever you're new, you're listening to so many people and you're just soaking in what they say, but you have to remember you have your own brain. You are the one who decided to do this. So make sure that you are involved in that decision-making process. Don't just listen to everyone else and do what they say.
Yeah. And if you're really green and you're just not getting it right away, there's plenty of books I can recommend. People reach out to me offline. I'm more than happy to spend some time chatting and just getting them pointed in the right direction. But ultimately, you may just want to get a mentor and someone that's done this before, and just kind of shadow them and link up with somebody like that and just get exposed to the industry. Absolutely.
It's great advice. Thank you so much, Justin. We really appreciate all the information that you gave. It's super helpful. We definitely appreciated having you on the show today.
Yeah, thank you.